Ashley and Kristen get allowances from their parents based on their age plus the number of chores they complete for the week. The parents give Ashley $30 per week plus $2.50 for each chore she completes. The parents give Kristen $15 per week plus $5 for each chore she completes. How many chores must each sibling complete so that they can earn the same weekly allowance? So, how many chores must each sibling complete so that they earn the same weekly allowance? So, X is going to represent one thing, and Y is going to represent another. What's X going to represent? Chores. Number of chores. Completed chores. And what's the other one?
Their allowance.
Their weekly allowance. So we're going to have one equation to represent Ashley's allowance, and we're going to have another equation to represent Kristen's allowance. All right, so what equation am I going to write for Ashley's allowance? Her weekly allowance equals what?
250C.
Okay,
Oh, X.
X.
Plus 30.
So 30 is the base weekly allowance that she gets, plus the $2.50 per chore. And what about Kristen?
Y equals 5X plus 15.
Okay. Just curious, who do you think's older?
No,
Ashley.
Ashley gets bigger allowance.
Does she though?
The base is bigger.
Her base is larger, but the amount that she earns per chore is less.
But like even if she weren't to do anything extra, like if neither of them were to do anything extra, she would get more.
So who has more responsibility of work, older or younger? So with 0 chores, Ashley would get 30, Kristen would get 15. So with 0 chores, if both kids were equally as lazy, the younger one would get more, and the older one would get less because the older one is expected to do more. Know what I'm saying? Again, this is a made-up problem situation.
Gosh darn standards.
Okay, so what we have to do now, the question says, how many chores must each sibling complete so that they earn the same incredibly generous weekly allowance? So we're wondering what the X value is when they earn the same. So what we can do is we can plug these numbers in for X in both of these equations and see if we get the same Y. So, do y'all want to do this by hand or with a calculator? Calculator, okay. So, first thing we're going to do is add a new document. No, don't save the unsaved document. Now I'm going to add a calculator page, okay? Calculator. Because what we're going to do is we are going to store these values as X and then set these equal to each other. We're going to set these equal to each other and see if we get a true statement. We can set these equal to each other because they're both equal to Y. If I said A equals B and A equals C. I can substitute C in for A here since they're equivalent, which would make C equal to B. So since both of these were equal to A, they were equal to each other. Since both of these are equal to Y, they should be, they'll be equal to each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these X values over here, and we're going to plug them in here and see if we get true or false. Questions? Okay. So the first one is 45. Anybody remember how to store values as variables? Okay, I'm going to use X. Okay, so X, control little squares to get the colon equals. Okay, so we do control little squares to get the colon equals. So X equals 45. That was answer choice A. And then I'm going to type in this equation. So 2.50x plus 30 equals 5x plus what? 15. We got false. So what does that mean in the context of the problem situation? Okay, so at 45 what? Chores. So if they both did 45 chores, they would not be earning the same weekly allowance. Let's try the next one. Okay. I'm going to save X as 4 this time. And then I can type in this equation again, or what else can I do?
Copy and paste.
So I can scroll up to it. How do I copy?
Control C.
Control C. Scroll down. How do I paste?
Control V.
Control V as in victory. And then, what did I get?
False.
False. So what does that mean in the problem situation? That when both of the sisters complete 4 chores, they don't get the same amount. So when both sisters complete 4 chores, they earn different amounts of money. So the next one is 6. So I'm going to store X as 6. Paste in my equation. Hit enter. What happened? What does that mean in the problem situation? That when both sisters complete 6 chores, they will earn the same allowance. So let's go ahead and test that last point just to make sure that it's not true as well. So I'm going to save X as, what was that last value? 8. And paste or type in the equation. So 2.5x plus 30 equals 5x plus 15. And we get false. So in the context of this problem, what does that mean?
when they do 6 chores, they do not get the same amount of money.
When they do
8 chores.
8
they do not get
chores.
the same amount of money.
they do not make the same amount of money. When they do 4 chores, they do not make the same amount of money. When they do 45 chores, they don't make the same amount of money. When they do 6 chores, they make the same allowance. Do you guys have any questions? Would you like to see that done graphically? Okay. So I'm going to add a new page for a graph. And I'm going to type in the 2 functions that we wrote. What was Ashley's equation? Y equals what? 2.5 x plus 30. And then I'm just going to hit the down arrow button right here so that I can immediately enter a new function. What was Kristen's equation? 5x plus 15. Okay, now I can barely see anything from either of these. I see a little bit of the red equation and a little bit of the blue equation, but I don't see what's going on too much. What was the highest y-intercept? What? The highest y-intercept from the 2 functions. Y-intercept, y-intercept. 30. So I need my y-axis to be at least 30. So do you see that I've scrolled on my calculator? I've scrolled up here to the top where it says text. I can click and then click one more time and edit that number. I'm going to make it 50. What do you notice about the 2 lines? They cross. The point at which they cross is going to represent the number of chores that they will do each week to make the same allowance. And what will the y value represent? The x value represents the chores, so the y value represents the allowance. So the x will be the number of chores, and the y will be how much money they earn from that. So now that I can see where they intersect, I'm actually going to click and hold right here, and I'm just going to move the screen a little bit so that it's a little bit more in the center. And that's just a personal preference. The way that we're going to let the calculator tell us the point at which they intersect, we're going to go to Menu. Any guesses where we're going to go next from here? Analyze. And what do you think now? 4, intersection. Okay? So you can scroll down to it or you can select 4 on the keypad. Now this says lower bound, which means we need to be to the lower x values of that intersection point. So get to the left of the intersection point and then click. And now it says upper bound. So we need to scroll to the right of that intersection point, or the upper x values around it. And we have intersection is at 645. So I'm going to click, and now that point stays there. When I move my cursor, this intersection label will disappear, but that's okay. We can visually tell that that's the point at which they intersect. So we got 6. Why do you think 45 was an answer choice? Because that's the y. That's the amount of money they would earn from the 6 chores. So the answer is C. Do you guys have any questions?